All right, aloha everyone. Happy Aloha Friday. I am your host, as always, Dylan Chase Lee, and welcome back to another segment of Manoa Valley Theater Live, our 23rd episode, and we have a great show for you folks today. And I know it must be hard, looking at your screen, staying at home for another 2 weeks because the stay-at-home order won't get released until September 9th, maybe. I might be 11th. September 11th. I'm seeing Kip in my little box down there. Speaking of Kip, let's bring him out. Everyone, Kip Wilborn.
Hey. How's everybody doing today? Welcome back to our, what number is this episode? 23?
23, like Michael Jordan.
23. All right. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Our 23rd episode. How about that? Wow. We've been doing great. Thank you so much for tuning in again. And we're glad to have you here. And as Dylan, now I have digressed. You're going to have to pick it up this time.
What? I'm going to have to pick it up?
Yes, you are. Right. You are. What were you talking about before we came on the air?
We were talking about a lot of things.
Yeah, see, I got totally distracted too. I had something else pop up, and I guess it went into a whole different thing. Okay, it's the virus. That's all there is to it. It's the virus. Hey, well, let me tell you what's going on around the theater. The AC is in.
Woo!
We're completely done with it, and I got the bill, of course. But here was the morning I came, the first morning of the installation. Heidi and Cook lined up on the driveway. And then I think then that's another shot with our banner for the next season. The old AC going on its way out. And then the crane bringing in the new AC. Yeah. So we're real excited about that. But like I said, there it says Manoa Theater, even on the side of the new AC. As I said, we did get the bill. So I'm serious about this. Take the time today. If it's $5, if it's $25, if it's $10,000, we'll take that too. Go ahead and make a little donation. Help us pay for this air conditioning. It's for your benefit, after all. Anyway, so in the industry, the events industry, all across the country right now, we're the industry, we in restaurants that are hit the hardest because we require people to gather. And so on September 1st, events all across the country, venues all across the country are going to go red. So they're going to light out of the outside or inside of their theaters in red to really urge Congress to pass the Restart Act, which will give some really, really needed support to venues such as ours. And so I urge you to go to hashtag, what was it? We Make Events and hashtag Red Alert Restart and support this cause and call your congressman. Encourage them to pass this act. It's really important. It's a long way from here to there, as you've heard me say before. All right. That's about that. And now we were just talking about something a little while ago. And I think it's a great idea. An open mic night at our theater.
Ooh.
Live stream it. Keep everybody distanced.
Yeah.
This is after this order is lifted. But we'll come in and it'll just be a potpourri. Whatever you do, come. We'll have a good time. Of course, we'll ask you guys to donate. But let me know if you think that's a good idea. Let us know in the comments on YouTube and on Facebook. So that's it. I'm excited. One bad thing I have to say, we had 265 more cases today. But over the weekend, they are going to be doing testing on H3.
Yes.
However, that's going to work. So
it's going to be a long line.
A long, long line.
Well, it should alleviate some traffic. I was looking at some photos of the COVID testing site over at LCC. Horrendous. It was all the way to Waipahu.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was really crazy. All right. So thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in again. And we've got a great show. And I'll turn it over to you, Dylan.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Kip.
All right.
All right. So our first guest is the production manager at Hawaii Public Radio and multiple Po'okela awardee. He has been the sound designer and engineer on numerous MVT productions, He was recently awarded the HSTC Po'okela for his work in the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime. We welcome to the show today, Jason Taglianetti. Jason,
Hey guys,
how
how you
you
doing, Dylan?
doing good. I'm doing good. All right. How is everything over at HPR? You folks saying okay?
Yeah, doing great, doing great. We're still, I mean, we're doing a lot of work, more so than ever before. Really, we're, continuing to make content that serves the state of Hawaii. Both news, information, music as well. We've just come off a run of a new show we tried with the Blue Note, which we were recording performances there without an audience and then streaming it on our airwaves. We did
Nice.
about 10 of those. I think this Saturday marks the last one that we're going to be airing with Tavana, a repeat. But it was a wonderful way to get live music out to the community and into the world at a time when we can't have live music.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And like Kip was saying earlier, wouldn't it be great if you could, kind of help us out with the having a series of musical or comedy or
Mhm.
whatever folks do over at the theater?
Oh yeah, that would be great. I think that would be a wonderful way to get performers on stage, and being heard, being seen. Sometimes, in many cases, you're gonna find artists who aren't gonna be heard or be seen any other way, really, and that's going to be a wonderful way for those artists to get heard and seen.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Jason, before we digress any further, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background? Sure. Were you born and raised in Hawaii?
So I was born and raised here in Hawaii. I went to school at Mililani High School. I grew up in Mililani, for most of my life.
Go Trojans!
Go Trojans! And I got started in theater with my parents actually. My mom went to Waianae High School.
Oh wow!
And she had a teacher there who was on the show Paladin. He I can't remember his name right now, but he came out here to Hawaii to teach theater, and she got hooked. And then when she started doing theater, I got hooked because she brought me along. So,
nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been living here my whole life. I'm doing theater here.
Nice. So, because you were introduced to theater at an early age, what do you remember specifically just while in the theater? What was the experience like?
I didn't know until much later in my life that it wasn't normal. It was, I went to the theater during rehearsals. I did my homework while my mom, was in those rehearsals. I remember at an early age, sitting backstage and watching a show from the wings, and you could see, looking between the curtains and watching a show from the side of the stage. It wasn't until I was much older that I got a chance to see a show from the front, as an audience member. So I've always been watching from backstage, and I think the experience, if anything, it taught me tolerance and acceptance. It was an interesting childhood, I would say. I got to read a lot of scripts, because being in the rehearsals, sometimes there's nothing for a kid to do except for coloring books. And at 5 years old, 6 years old, you wander over to the bookshelf where the scripts are, and you start reading them.
Nice.
So it was an interesting experience.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of kids, they grow up watching theater from that audience perspective. But as you said, you watched it from the backstage perspective. So you have this, I don't want to say a better appreciation, but you have this appreciation for theater that you see all the work that's being done, not only just what's on stage, but everything that's going on back of the stage. Quick changes. The flag rails coming in and out. The stage you're giving out the calls. So
yeah, and I got to see a lot of different things, because my mom. Not only did my mom act and dance and perform on stage, but she also stage managed. She did costumes. She did props. She didn't do some of the technical stuff. My dad ended up helping with the technical, with the lighting or with sound. designing sets, building sets. So a lot of it was watching the two of them work and watching other people work, really, and getting to see a lot of amazing artists who I ended up later working with as an adult.
Mhm.
So
So
yeah.
you kind of grew up in this theater family
Mhm.
where would you say that most of the contributions to the theater that were made by your parents were mostly on the technical side, or kind of split in between with both performing and technical?
It was split between the all of it, really. My dad primarily did lights, and I think he designed one set for a show at Army Community Theater back when they were at Schofield. I
Uh-huh.
think the show was called 2 by 2. And I may have been 5 or 6 years old at the time, so I'm shocked that I remember that. But he designed the set. It was I remember it being a musical about Noah's Ark. I remember. So my dad designed that set, but my mom stuck to basically anything that was on the backside of the proscenium. She stuck to stage managing, costumes, props, acting. She never directed, but my dad handled the tech stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with all of that said, how did you make your way into sound design?
I got interested in sound early in life. I would say maybe 7 or 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Again, from theater, watching people put together sound effect tracks for plays and musicals. I fell in love with we had a BBC record at home that was a sound effects record. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember playing it with headphones and just listening to it and loving the different sounds that were on it. Just sound effects record, nothing
Yeah.
spectacular. It might have been like a bugle call followed by a gunshot, followed by thunder, but I was fascinated by the sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, growing up playing with sound as a kid and then getting into high school,
Mm-hmm.
had some friends who were recording sound and they taught me some stuff. And it just kind of was this natural progression through sound. I wasn't, I would say that I wasn't interested in sound design for theater,
Mm-hmm.
as I didn't really know it existed yet. But I didn't get interested until I was in Seattle when I had a teacher of mine there. We
Oh.
were we were hashing out what to do, with sound.
Mm-hmm.
He had been Nirvana's sound engineer.
Whoa.
And that was pretty wild. But he's the one who said to me, you might want to try theater, one day. And I just was like, light bulb goes off in your head going, duh, I know theater. Yeah, let's try to do that. And I tried to do it in Seattle. I tried, with my mom's contacts to reach people and to look for work, in theater.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately I didn't find the work, but they pointed me in some really good directions, and they gave me some wonderful tips. And I was able to take that information home with me back to Hawaii. And then I started working in theater. I went, my first show was at Army Community Theater.
Oh, awesome.
Which surprising because that's where I was practically born on stage. So,
Oh.
so
Wow. Were you like born in the actual theater or?
no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
my first role on stage, I joke because it's the first role I ever played.
Uh-huh.
I was born on stage. I played baby Pippin, and
Okay.
they held me up, and I was born.
Nice.
So that's the running gag.
Awesome. Well, Jason, you mentioned that you're really intrigued with like sound and sound effects, and it made me wonder, do you enjoy doing like any Foley work? Do you enjoy?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That to me is my favorite part of sound design and sound in general, just recording. I love to record sound. I love being in a space where I have headphones on, a microphone in my hand, and I'm capturing sound. I love exploring through the Foley process, trying to find the thing that's going to make the sound the sound. I have a moment. We did a play called "To Kill a Mockingbird." I'm trying to think back to, and this was like probably my second season at Manoa Valley Theater.
Mhm.
And I remember sitting in the hallway upstairs with Ray Bumatai, and
Oh,
we were working out some ideas with for sound effects, and we figured out a way to make a bone break. Like
oh.
Jeb in the story breaks his, I think he breaks his arm. Boo Radley breaks, or something, breaks his arm anyways. And
Ooh.
so we needed that sound effect. We needed to be like really bold and really brazen and out there, and something that would make people cringe. And using Foley, we were able to make that sound effect.
Uh,
And
could you share the secret of how you folks got
Sure.
that?
Sure. It's we took and what I love about Foley too is that it's not what you think. When I say we're going to make the sound of a bone breaking, like an arm breaking, and you think, oh my God, what are you going to use? And we found a wooden dowel to start with, and that was the initial break. But then we took celery. We took a head of later I added a head of lettuce. And I just like smashed it, and then I took a piece of veneer, wood veneer, and
Mhm.
ripped it in such a way that it would splinter,
Oh,
and then layered all those sounds in a multi-track program to get them to line up so that the break on every single thing, the spike, happens at the exact same moment, and then you got a bone break.
wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So.
So the different layers of what you
Mhm.
said, it's not just one thing, but it's another thing to help complement this thing. So
Right,
it's
right,
not as
right,
simple as
right.
many our viewers might think it is.
No, it's not. Yeah, and you got to think too about like you said, the layers. You have to think about the physics involved, what's happening in that moment, why is it happening. You have to also think about how is it making you feel as an audience member. It's not enough to just like another example I use is a phone ring. A phone ring is never a phone ring in a play. It's simple. It sounds simple, but the reality is the phone is ringing for a purpose. The playwright has decided to add a phone ring, and you have to find out why they've added it. Where is it coming from? Is it in the same room, the next room? Who's calling? What kind of information do they have? Who is the phone owned by? And that gives you all your answers basically to how you're going to make that phone ring sound. In the case of the bone break, we had to figure out, what's involved in the sound of a bone break. There's hard, brittle noises, but there's also soft tissue. There's
Ooh.
wet, so without being too gross about it, yeah, there's a lot of layers and a lot of things you have to think about when you're making sounds.
Mhm. Like that is that illusion to achieve. Like you don't want just people. Oh, that was someone's bone breaking. You want them to actually feel
Right. Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
that sensation,
Right.
although not physically.
Not physically, but you want them to understand what just happened without having to question it, without going, what was that? You really want them to know instinctively that was exactly what it sounded like. That was, that was the phone ring, that was the gunshot, that was the doorknob, that was the car driving away, that was the car driving up, those kinds of things. You want people to instantly be able to hear it. And the amazing thing about sound is that everybody knows what these sounds sound like. It's not like you're introducing it for the first time. And so instinctively, people know when it's right and when it's wrong. So
All right.
you have to get it right.
Yes, you definitely, because then if not, it kind of draws people out of the world that has been created.
Exactly. And the whole purpose, as a sound designer, is to serve the world that's being created, to bring people into it. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a part of this immersive part of the art form that we create. So the hyper realism or the realism with sound can just serve to bring people more into your story and more into the production, and so that they can forget about the outside world for those 2 hours.
Nice. And Jason, just one last question before we let you go
Sure.
backstage. How did you get involved with Hawaii Public Radio?
I got involved. I was doing, funny enough, I was doing Foley sound effects for a radio show here.
Oh, nice.
Actually, in this room, standing right over there, actually. And the guy who was producing the show was the production manager there at the time.
Mhm.
And I asked him about any jobs that HPR had. And he said, "Oh yeah, go talk to so and so." So I did. Went to talk to him, and he gave me a job as a board op, and I worked overnights for about a year. And then the guy I talked to, I mentioned earlier, his name was Jeff Ilardi. He left the station, and he recommended me for that job, and I've been here ever since.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And, how are you folks doing amidst this pandemic?
We're doing good. We're doing really, really good. We're continuing to serve our mission of providing 2 high-quality program streams to the entire state of Hawaii. We're serving with news, music, information, especially in this time. People need information. People need entertainment like music to get through some days, and that's what we're here to do.
All right.
We're serving that mission.
Nice. Well, thank you, Jason, so much for being on the show today. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
With us. Yes. And we'll talk to you later, okay?
All right.
All right. All right. And before I forget, our second guest has been a member of the resident ensemble at Honolulu Theater for Youth since 2015. He's an actor, music director, and composer who has worked with many of the theaters on Oahu. And due to his hours at HTY, he was unable to join us live today, but we had a chance to catch up with him earlier in the week. Here's a discussion I had with our guest, Sean Joseph Choo. What got you into theater? What was like your first moment with the stage? And did you know right away that you were going to do this, for as long as you've been doing it?
Well, the question of like when I first got into theater is different from like when I first was introduced to the concept of like performance or theater. Like in preschool, I was like part of like the nativity pageant thing. I played Joseph.
Oh,
yeah. And it wasn't anything. It was just like me and my classmate were carrying like a baby, to the altar kind of thing. But that's like just very basic thing. But like my first real theater thing was in 5th grade at Kamehameha.
Oh, 5th grade play?
Yeah. But that didn't get me into theater. That made me just think like, this is a very strange thing. Why are we taking time out of class to meet with this acting teacher who's making us do weird improv games? But when I first really got into theater was my junior year. I think it was fall semester. I was in the newspaper, and one of my best friends was in theater that year for whatever reason. He's super introverted, so it's really confusing. But he was in a adaptation of The Jungle Book, and I went to go watch to support him, and I was kind of blown away by how all these like high school students were portraying these very real characters. I mean, they're animals, but it's just a really touching coming of age story. And after that, I stayed up all night like writing a review, and I was like, I'm gonna sign up for theater next semester. And I think it was because like I've always been into movies and like kind of into anime or like cartoons at least. And that was the first time I connected like story with like seeing a narrative like in real time with real people. It's like there's something like much more affecting than just watching like something on here,
Right there, and it's a very vulnerable moment. Would you agree?
Yeah, it is very vulnerable, and then also I think it's exciting too because like we're talking about me doing improv. I think that's why I'm attracted to improv as well. There's like sort of like there's this inherent risk in it. Anything could happen. Like the lights could just like short out, and like what are you gonna do? Or like people forget lines, or like sometimes people, they're in the middle of a costume change, or like, you know, for rolling the R's, Miley, like, she didn't know where her dress was. So like me and Jonathan Rain started the scene without her, and then we improvised like for 30 seconds.
For a lot of people, improv is intimidating. And for you, you go the extra step and you add that extra layer with improvising music. I just want to understand the process, because I think it's amazing. It's mind-blowing.
I guess, well, the process, I think, is like years of mimicking, you know, miming. And like, I think we inherit that from our family, you know, the people who tell stories naturally, and then we just watch them. Oh, Uncle's funny, I want to be like him. But like for musical improv specifically, you know, for actually years, after high school, to give a long story, I won't make it that long to get to my point, which is what I do. I was into theater in college for a couple years. Then I like left, and I was in church world for like 5 years. And then I got back into theater because my friend recommended me to be an accompanist for On the Spot. So that's how I met Evan and Garrick. And for like 3 years, I worked with them and learned a lot about their process of musical improv and just long form. That's the first time I heard about long form improv and fell in love with it. And so a lot of my process is like inherited from them. So, you know, like watching Who's Line, you know, kind of just observing. Yeah. But like when I'm doing it, I guess I'm just thinking of, I'm recycling songs and progressions, primarily just add what I'm imagining as a character in the moment about whatever the song is about. So
you also help out with the music and stuff like that. What's it like working at Honolulu Theater for Youth?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we all have primary like jobs, but we do a lot of devising work, right? And I mean, all theater's collaborative, but we do wear a lot of hats. I guess sometimes I sound design shows. And that process is very different from musical improv. I can't just like shoot from the hip and like, here it is, you know. But that is the beginning phases of composing, I guess, you know. And that's why I love improv, is because like sound design, or how I approach it, it's kind of like the most basic form of play or creation. You're literally taking nothing and making something with it. Like in preschool, like during recess, me taking my jacket as we tied around our waist, as people in the 90s did, and like grabbing the ends of it and going like this and pretending I'm an eagle, you know? So like I start off like kind of how I approach musical improv. I think about a progression, and then I play with it and see like what I feel is appropriate for whatever moments. And I tend to make too much music, or like music that's not necessary for the given moment. So, and then I know I'm in dialogue with the director, what works, what doesn't work. Can you edit this part? Can you cut that part out? This part is too busy. Can you take out some instruments? And so I'm like shaping and molding based on the needs of the production.
At the beginning of quarantine, you folks were actually ahead of the game. You folks had The Highway, a short series that would play on, was it K5, Channel 5, right?
It's Hawaii News Now. It's all whatever the networks associated with HNN.
Was it something that you folks were already working on, or is it something that was just birthed out of necessity, and because of the devising work and the collaboration skills that you folks have, were you guys just able to, you know, kind of kick it off as soon as COVID started?
Yeah, having the devising background allowed us to be more flexible, I think, and intuitive in some ways in how we work together. We weren't planning to do a TV show at all or anything like that. When mid-March hit, or the quarantine and stay-at-home order stuff, actually like the day before or after or whatever, I did like a cabaret show with Miguel Cadore and Kimmy. And at work, we kind of just shifted gears immediately and just adapted and kind of like pushed out our first episode in, I want to say like a week and a half or something like that.
Oh,
so
nice.
All like learning, okay, like this is how we use our camera, or like, you know, we all like had crash courses in like lighting and like framing or whatever, but basically we just threw sketches on the wall, kind of like SNL does, right? Like really fast, really quick and dirty, and like make something, you know, that's sort of cohesive, and we put it out there. And you know, we're really blessed because one of our board directors is Katie Pickman, and she works at Hawaii News Now. So now I'll connect with that. And then we also partner with NMG Network. So Gerard Elmore works a lot with us as our cameraman and mentor, filmmaker. And he's really talented. Nice. So that's what that is. We were supposed to open Royal School. Oh, by Moses.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I was looking forward to that. We have all our costumes and stuff ready to go, but we decided to shift gears.
All right, so are you folks still going to be doing Royal School? Has the show been postponed or?
Yeah, it's postponed right now.
Yeah. What is the most gratifying thing working with children in theater?
What I find most gratifying working with children is, I think I find something in common with children in the sense of, like, you know how we were talking about play earlier. I think that's what I really like about kids. The view of the world is it's not just completely innocent and rose colored. You know what I mean? Kids can be nasty, but the thing I really like about work with kids is that a lot of times, especially if they're really young, they're honest, and I appreciate that. You know, about any human being. I think to be honest and unafraid to express yourself is something that's really important that we teach our children, that we teach others, that we allow ourselves to do even. I think that's something that's very important to me as I've grown as an adult. That's what I like about kids.
Yes. Thank you, Sean, for coming on and recording this session with us. I understand that you're busy. Currently, Sean isn't actually live on Friday. He's actually working to help HTY produce their things, and we commend him for it because God knows that keeping a child's attention span for more than 15 minutes is God's work.
Hey, I am going to be in Kumu's first play of their next season, Lovey Lee by Moses Goods. We're in rehearsal right now. And also, we were talking about my CD release party. I'm going to have a CD release party, the improv show, to be clear, this Friday, actually.
Okay. Sounds good. This Friday.
Improv.com.
What time?
I believe it's 7.
Okay, so right after Manoa Valley Theater Live, don't forget to check out Sean Choo's CD release party, where you can watch him do live music improv. It's very remarkable.
But double check improvhi.com and the Facebook. I tend to forget details sometimes.
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. To quickly wrap this up, we're gonna bring back Kip and JTag to the stream. So welcome back, Kip and Jason. How are you folks doing? Kip, you're muted.
Sorry, I was here making noise. I didn't want to be on the show accidentally.
No worries. But yeah,
thank you, JTag, for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Really interesting and really informative.
Yeah,
I didn't know those things about you. That's pretty cool.
Oh, now you do. Now I have to worry. Now I have to worry.
I see that now. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who's watching, and support us and support the arts. And remember, September 1st, the arts and performance venues across the country are going red. So encourage your congressman to please pass the Restart Act. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Aloha, everyone.